Welcome to the Florida Real Estate Influencer Podcast, a place where people who know share their perspectives on the market, current trends, and all about the future of real estate here in Florida. I'm your host, Matt Dixon, and on each episode, we will feature a market influencer sharing their expertise so you can always have the inside track. Our guest this week on the podcast is Cindy Sommer. Cindy is not only a very successful agent with the Ivan and Mike team in South Florida, she also is an expert in Airbnb and income-generating second homes in the booming sector in Miami and Miami Beach. She's very much at the forefront of this market and has an encyclopedic knowledge as to the best buildings and where to invest your money, and has great relationships at developer level. So I'm really hoping that you enjoy listening to the conversation that we had as much as I did interviewing her. Welcome everybody to the Real Estate Influencers Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Dixon. Today I've got a very, very special guest with me. I'm extremely excited to introduce to you Cindy Sommer, who's an expert in short-term rental properties in the Miami market, amongst other things. And as that is my area of expertise in Orlando, there's a commonality here and a sister brotherhood here. So I'm really interested and really excited to bring to you Cindy Sommer. Hey, Cindy.
Hi.
How are you?
Excited to be here, elated. You've hyped me up so much. I'm so excited.
Well, you're going to live up to the billing. You know, I'm actually genuinely excited about you being here as well. I know that I for everybody back home, like watching this, I messed up the arrangements for this particular podcast. And at one point I thought I'd lost her, but I'm really pleased to see that you're here. So thanks again for coming down. I really appreciate it. So I've got a few questions for you that I think will help people understand what's going on in Miami, particularly with short-term rental. I know that's not the only thing that you do. I know that you can help people in all aspects, but I know you're also an expert. She's been carving a pathway in the expanding market and the emerging market for short-term rentals in Miami.
Yes.
And so that's what I want to talk to you about predominantly today. So that's what we're going to be discussing. So Cindy, tell us, give us a bit of background. How did you get into real estate? What were you doing before real estate?
Prior to real estate, I had a digital marketing agency. I was teaching social media management. Prior to that, I was doing local marketing. And prior to that, I was in hospitality management.
Wow.
So all of those things kind of helped me come into real estate. I was never interested in real estate, believe it or not.
Really?
And Mike, who you just spoke with, has known that I've been in sales for 11 years, has been wanting me to join with him and do real estate.
Dragged you screaming into the real estate industry.
2020 came around. I lost all my clients for my digital marketing agency. And he said, now is the time. I need you. This is crazy.
Right.
Come on. And I got my license and I fell in love with the industry. I cannot believe I didn't listen to him before.
Wow.
Now this is my jam. So that's how I got into real estate.
You can earn some real money, huh?
And the money's good too, so I'm not going to complain.
It's really interesting that the modern real estate agent has to do a lot of marketing. So that's obviously right in your wheelhouse, right?
Yes, and it's giving me a deeper understanding because I find, based on your background, that's what you attract. So a lot of studying on my part, right, coming into not having any background in real estate, but just living in Miami. And my understanding and helping people that are buying for the first time or investing for the first time, I'm able to walk them through that from different eyes. So it's definitely helping me.
Very much, it's a people business, right?
Yes.
I think if you're in this business just to earn money, you're in the wrong business completely. Because if you're not in the business to help people, you've no business being in the business, right? So
you'll get tired really fast.
Absolutely. So your digital marketing agency, were you specializing in anything to do with real estate at all, or? I
had one real estate agent as a client. And it's funny because when I got into Compass, he's a Compass agent. I'm like, hi, I'm here now, but as a real estate agent.
Small world, right? Well, Compass is taking over the world, as we all know, right? So
yes.
it's not highly unusual inside the business. I met somebody the other day yesterday in the Miami Beach office, who's actually from a town like 10 miles away from where I'm from, and it turns out we know the same people back home. So it's just the kind of company it is, I guess. So. How have you grown your business so far? I mean, obviously, we'll get into how you've focused on short-term rentals, but how have you grown your business so far? Is it being part of a team that's grown your business, or have you gone out there and just started with nothing and just farmed your relationships?
My biggest blessing was coming into a business, number one team in Miami in pre-construction.
Let's name check that team.
Ivan and Mike team, of course. And, if I was going to come into real estate, I was going to be under mentors that I knew could take me further. I mean, I believe in doing everything with a spirit of excellence. So to me, it's okay, if I can be under their wing, they're going to be my mentors. I know I'm going to be okay in real estate no matter what happens. Right. And for anyone coming into the business, I would say being in a team is number one. My first month in business, I had 65 leads. I didn't even know what to do with them.
Right.
So I hit the ground running. I mean, I was thrown to the wolves. And so
that's steep.
2021, right in the peak of things, Jenny area, remember, I was all over the place, but that's exactly how I learned. And I would say that my learning curve, was much, much smaller than anybody else coming into the business.
Well, that must be the big thing of being part of a team, isn't it? Because you've got that kind of wealth of knowledge within inside the team. How big is the Ivan and Mike team? How many people are in
We're
there?
about, I believe, now 8.
Right, okay. So it's a nice and tight group, but you've got that experience and diversity.
And that was important to me. I like exclusivity. I like to be part of something exclusive.
Right.
And that's the same type of service that I give my clients.
Right.
Not about quantity, but quality.
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
important
That's
to me.
Fabulous.
Yes.
So let's turn our discussion to the short-term rental market in Miami. Mm-hmm. As you know, I work in Orlando. I've been involved for 25 years or so, in fact, probably longer now because I'm an OG, in short-term rental properties. So Disney is obviously in our backyard, Universal and SeaWorld and the theme parks that are all there. So it's a very well-understood model in Orlando. We have specific zoned areas where you can and can't buy. You're allowed to rent it on a nightly basis. The growth in Miami has been a totally different experience, right?
Yes.
And it's been news to me that this industry is actually emerging in Miami. So could you perhaps give us an overview as to what that market looks like right now today?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of short-term rentals, you have to decide, hey, am I going with something that already exists or am I going to go pre-construction route? That's my favorite way to go because Miami tends to be more expensive than the rest of the state, the country, right? So whenever you're buying in pre-construction, then you have the most discounted price that you can get in short-term rentals. And so there is a lot to go around in Miami. It's definitely emerged. Everyone wants short-term rentals. And I mean, if you think about within the next 5 years, there's that $10 billion in development for short-term rental space alone. There's going to be a total of 10 short-term rental buildings, and 6 of them alone are in downtown.
Goodness me. So are they okay? So, and is that because of the availability of land in the downtown area where everything else is built out in the beach, for instance, in Miami Beach? Is it because there's available lots for builders to actually...
There's space. Yeah, I mean... Downtown is relatively young. There's a lot of space to develop. There's a lot of land still. And you don't need a lot of land because we go vertically.
Right, you go high-rise, right, yeah, it's very dense.
Right. So, yeah, wherever you go in the downtown area, Edgewater, they're all relatively new. There's a lot of space for new buildings, and we're going to continue to see that.
And how does that look in terms of, are the whole buildings short-term rental?
Well, yeah, it depends on the building that you're going to. Yeah, so if you're going to a short-term...
specifically for Airbnb, short-term rental type rentals.
Right, so if you're in downtown, you go somewhere like the Elser, that the whole building is going to be short-term rental.
I see.
But you could live in it long-term if you wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the option to do so after an X amount of time. So depending on the building, the restriction will change. So
the classic advantage to obviously having a short-term rental investment property is that you can use it yourself, unlimited personal usage, and then you can rent it out when you're not using it to cover your costs. Is that the kind of model that you're seeing here in Miami?
Yes, you definitely want to just rent it first.
Right.
That's what I always say. But if you wanted to come to Miami for the weekend and enjoy it, you could. You have somewhere to stay. And any of these buildings that are being built are luxury.
Right.
So you're going to have the Miami life that you want to put on Instagram and you want to talk about it and brag about.
Right.
So it's the place to go.
And so when you're getting clients that are buying in these properties, obviously if you're doing a lot of pre-construction, I'm assuming that a lot of the buildings are not yet delivered, as it were. But are you finding that clients are bringing their friends as well? Is that the experience that you're having? So if they buy one, their friends buy one?
Yes. They call me back, hey, my hairdresser wants to buy now. Okay, let's do it. And so they're buying more than one.
Right.
That 2, 3 at a time because they want to rent it, use it.
Right.
Sometimes they just want to entertain clients. Right. They don't even want to be here. They just want to send their clients.
So a corporation could purchase one of these properties and just have it as a kind of a business perk, as it were?
Correct.
I'm really
seeing that as well. Most of it is just investors, like either first-time investors or they've invested somewhere else. They don't necessarily want to live in Miami, but they want to invest in Miami because they see the opportunity and the rentability of these buildings.
Right.
And then just having somewhere to go to and not having to pay for hotels or Airbnbs. That's what I'm seeing a lot.
Yeah, we see that in Orlando as well, is that people come back year after year, after sometimes 2-3 times a year. And when you work out the finances, the economics of it, it makes more sense to have a property that's going to be producing income and you can stay out relatively free, right? Other people are paying your mortgage, In terms of the actual management of the property as well, in these buildings, these Airbnb short-term rental buildings, is there a central management company or can you choose any other management company that you want?
If you're going pre-construction, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a management company that will take care of you, and they'll take anywhere between 15 to 25% of the profit. Some of them, you'll have to rent it for a year, and then you could do it on your own if you wanted to. Some of them are restricted by floor. So if you're above a certain floor, then you could do whatever you want. So essentially, you go through the company, or then later on, you can manage it yourself.
Right.
It makes more sense to go through them. And the reason why is because there is more inventory coming out. You want a company that has done it.
Right.
That will put it in the right platforms so they get booked.
Yeah. And by platforms, you mean the rental platforms?
Correct.
Right.
Airbnb, VRBO, et cetera. If it's a hotel, Highgate is one of the management companies that PMG uses for their short-term rental buildings. And they manage Marriott properties.
Okay.
And they have the clientele.
So they've got the experience.
And the
they've
experience.
got the systems and all that good stuff, right?
And the name, exactly.
Yeah.
So something like that, I would let them handle it. Unless you want to go, not pre-construction, and you're going on the resale side, right? And then you want to do it on your own.
Right, okay. So if an investor's like listening to this right now and they're thinking, well, okay, that sounds like a really good, interesting model for this. Is it easy for them to actually just purchase and then just leave it alone to be rented? They don't have to do anything themselves?
They don't have to do anything. If the managed company is taking care of it. These short-term rental buildings, you have to understand that you're buying everything. They come with the furniture, the art, the toilet paper. Everything is already done for you.
And the cleaning's taken care of after each stay, et cetera,
Absolutely, everything. The cleaning, you put the money, they deliver it to you, you enjoy the fruits of your labor,
in a world-class city like Miami, right?
Right.
Because that wasn't previously available, and that was one of the things that always intrigued me about. We've been used to this in Orlando for many, many years, but Miami never really had anything. I know there was a lot of political battles that went on in Miami about where you could and couldn't build these buildings, right?
Right.
And I know in an established condominium, for instance, you wouldn't necessarily want your neighbors to all of a sudden turn to an Airbnb, and you couldn't control the people that were coming in.
Well, you still can't. You still can't.
Okay, that's interesting.
In order for you to do Airbnb, you have to be on unincorporated Miami-Dade.
Right. Okay.
Right? Or be in a building where it's already approved for short-term rentals.
So either way out in the stakes or something that's already previously approved.
Exactly.
Right.
So if you were to be, say, you buy at Icon in Brickell, the tower that I believe is Tower 1, where W is a condo hotel, so you could. If you were to be at the Opera Tower, have a 30-day minimum there, you could do it. So you may not find daily rentals, but you can find 30-day minimums that you can rent.
Gotcha.
And that we still consider short term.
And again, that's the minefield that you're looking at when you're working with a client. So a client, again, let's say somebody's sat in New York and they're listening to this and they're thinking, again, it makes sense to do. Are you able to take people from cradle to grave sort of thing and like do the original profiling of what they're looking for, identify the property that's right for them? I mean, do you have particular buildings that you think this is a really good deal right now and you need to get in on it? Is that the way it works with you?
Yes, but it depends on what they're looking for.
Right, okay.
So I will ask you, Matt, you want to invest. Do you want it for daily rentals? Do you want a 30-day minimum? Do you want to live in it? Do you want to visit? Do you want to just invest and rent it? Because someone who wants to invest in it but also wants to live in it, you might not want to buy a studio that's 400 square feet.
Right.
You might want something bigger.
Sure.
So then maybe, and depends on your budget.
Right. So it's a client-by-client thing is what you're saying.
Correct. And based on your answers, then I'll tell you, okay, go to the Paraíso Towers in Edgewater that are 30-day minimum rentals, 1,200 square feet. You're looking at about $1 million. And you can invest it, rent it, make $15,000 in a month, and, that type of thing.
Right.
Or then I'll take you over to Vita Residences that will be built in 2026.
Right.
You're not going to live in it. It's too small, but it'll be great,
Right. A good place to come and crash for that a couple of nights yourself and then rent it and take the rental return.
So it really depends on what the person is looking for, what their budget is, what the area that they like. The Elster is great because it's right in front of Bayside.
Right.
And when Ultra Festival happens.
Right. So you're right there.
You could see it from the apartment.
Right.
So what do you value? What do you want out of it? What is your future in Miami? Then I will tell you there's so many different buildings in Miami. I have to have a conversation with you to tell you.
And that's the value of a knowledgeable, experienced real estate agent who really specializes. So you've niched down into this particular sector yourself, right? This is something that you want to dominate.
That's my expertise.
Right?
Right. Downtown, Brickell, Edgewater, Coral Gables I do for rentals, but you can do short-term rentals. this is my jam.
Right, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
It's obviously something
I get
that you're
excited.
passionate about, right? That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so, okay, because I think that's the best thing that anybody can have when they're buying real estate is somebody to guide them, right?
Yes.
I know that my particular stories that I came across from the UK many, like decades ago, a long time ago, and I couldn't trust anybody, right? And I was 4,500 miles away from home. I didn't have a real estate agent that I could trust, and actually had a really bad experience. It's amazing that I ever even bought anything in the first place. And I always believe in my business that my first job is to put their interest first, my client's interest first.
Absolutely.
And that's obviously what you're saying, right? It's not just about the transaction, it's about actually getting them what they want, right?
Yeah, I like to introduce myself as your real estate concierge.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's great.
That's
I
who I
might
am.
steal that one, actually. I might take that one away from you.
So-
Did you trademark it? Because if not...
I have not. I have not. It's trademarked now.
But it is a mindset, isn't it? Right?
It is, because when people are coming to Miami, and this is what I experience, they probably have never been here, have been here maybe just a couple of times, they don't know. So I say, I'm going to be your real estate concierge, where I will guide you in your search prior to you making that decision. No pressure. Let me show you what areas based on what your preference is, and we can go from there. And so we become almost friends, right? They trust me.
Yeah.
I trust them, and then we don't even have to sign a contract saying you're going to work with me,
Right.
because it's an understanding.
Right.
There's an emotional debt that I create.
Right.
And that's what I love to do, because for me is the experience that I give you, so you know Miami is a place for you.
Right, and so you're giving that assurance and kind of building that trust, as it were.
Correct.
So really, that's the only way of working with people. I think, honestly, if you try contracting people, then you're leveraging people into something that you're not even certain of, right? So that's really, really cool.
That's how we connected.
Yeah, right, exactly right. It's a heart thing, right?
Yes, it's
people
a heart
business.
thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yes.
So just going back to the technicalities of it as well, how does that work in pre-construction? Let's talk about pre-construction.
Okay.
So somebody identifies that, yes, they're interested. You identify the building. You know exactly what they're looking for. You assure them of the quality of the product and what's going to be delivered. What happens next in the typical purchase process? What does that actually look like for the client?
Well, depending on where the building is in terms of the construction, whether they broke
Let's say
ground.
it's a year or 2 years out, right?
If the first thing would be to select the unit that you want, and then you go under contract. Once you go under contract, then it works different than a resale. There's going to be a payment structure, a deposit structure. Usually is 10, 20, 30% at contract, depending where the building is, right? And then from that, it could be another 10%, 60 to 90 days later, another 10% of the 20th floor of construction, another 10%, or the rest at closing.
Right.
So you're looking at about anywhere between 30 and 50% is going to be cash in a period of time.
Right.
Could be 1, 2 years, 3 years, depending where the building is. And then at closing, you're going to do the other 50 to 70%, which you can finance if you want to.
I was going to ask you about that. So is the financing available for this type of property in Miami?
Some projects offer it. What I would recommend is talk to your real estate agent, you, me, right? And I can connect you with the correct lender that has had experience with pre-construction.
I think that's a really important point as well, Cindy,
Yes.
for my to interject there. I think not all lenders are created equal, right? And I think it's
Correct.
a lender that's appropriate for your client, just like the property. It's as personal as that, right? It's as personal as the relationship with the real estate agents as well, right?
And what I find is that a lot of people that are coming that are not in Miami want to use their lender in a different state, and they don't know how Miami works.
Yeah. That's an interesting point as well, because it's a different world than, for instance, I don't know if you're in Nevada or California or Connecticut or New York.
Very
right?
different.
Yeah.
It's very different. And the contracts for pre-construction are different than a regular contract for resales. You cannot change much. That's what's on there. And they often don't understand that. So it's important that you're working with someone who's local that has the experience.
And again, so that's the market expertise that you're carrying and that you've built, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Also, when you're closing, say if you were to close with 50 or 60% with financing, you can always get a loan for higher, say 80%, and then get a credit back, a cash back.
Oh, so that
at
money
closing.
that you've paid as a down payment would come back to you at the closing if
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
And that's something, a distinction for pre-construction that a lot of people don't know.
Right. Okay. I like to finish off my podcast with a few quick fire questions.
Okay.
If you're okay. So I
Let's do it.
came up with some for you.
I'm nervous.
So, yeah. Well, you should be, because there's some really hard searches there. So you told me where you grew up, right? Or
Yes.
Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Puerto Rico.
Right.
Grew up in Puerto Rico until I was 15.
Right.
Then came to high school in Miami.
Okay.
Was here until I graduated high school. went to Florida State and Tallahassee, then moved to California, lived there 5 years, then came over here.
Oh my
yeah,
Lord.
Then came back. I've been here now over 5 years.
And this is a great place to settle, obviously. And you think you're here
My
for the rest
family's here.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's why I came back.
And what do you do for fun outside real estate?
Dancing. I love dancing.
Really?
Salsa dancing, merengue, bachata, salsa, all of it.
Fantastic. If you ever want something really funny, folks, watch an Englishman try to dance bachata. It's not a pretty sight. It really isn't. But that's amazing. I'd like to see that someday. And your favorite type of music or your favorite band?
I love bachata. Romeo Santos is my favorite. And or any salsa, Mark Anthony. Or I can go to Megan Trainor. I mean, I can enjoy pretty much anything.
So basic, really eclectic.
Yeah. Just no rock.
Yeah, no rock. You're not a rock girl.
No rock, yeah. That's it.
Your favorite bar or restaurant in Miami right now?
I'm
would sure
say,
it changes, but...
Yeah, Amara, the restaurant in Edgewater is by the bay. It's beautiful. It's like Latin flair food. Mm-hmm. I love that. And then on a daily basis, you'll see me at Pura Vida. You would think I work there. They pay me to go.
Right.
Healthy eating, that's my jam.
In Brickell?
Pura Vida's everywhere. I go to Edgewater all the time.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Edgewater's like a place for you, right?
Yeah.
For those of you not familiar with Miami, Edgewater's like a big developing area. I mean, maybe you can give a description of what Edgewater is, just to break off quickly. What is Edgewater? How's that?
North of Brickell, east of Wynwood, by the water, is the cheapest area per square footage that you can buy for real estate.
A lot of value.
Yeah, so my clients range under the 2 million mark. So that's the area where you can find that, and your views will never be obstructed because you're by the water.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes.
I meant to cover that earlier on, so thanks for that. But you're not getting away without these personal questions. So,
okay.
Your favorite holiday destination?
I just love anything warm by the beach. Puerto Rico, because I live there. Love Miami or California. Just wherever the beach is, I am.
Yeah, they'll find you.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And then finally, what does your perfect South Florida Sunday morning look like?
Very involved with my church. I'm actually on the stage team. I've been there 5 years. So I will be there at 6 a.m, serving on the stage team, usually sometime until 2 or 3 p.m. Then I'll go to brunch with friends, then get ready for the week. That's what it looks like usually.
Sounds heavenly. It really does.
Yeah.
I want to say, personally, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been fabulous to see you. Obviously, we've only met recently, but I've been very impressed with the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll be speaking with you again.
And
Thanks very much for watching the Real Estate Insiders podcast. Join us for more guests over the next few episodes. And I hope you enjoyed today with Cindy Sommer. Thanks for watching.
1